Hey everyone, Cody from Mac Telecom Networks. In this video, we're going to be replacing my G4 Doorbell Pro, just the standard one that uses the 2-pair power cable, with the G4 Doorbell Pro PoE Kit. The Doorbell Pro PoE Kit came out a couple of months ago and I have had it sitting here, but now I think it's about time. I'm going to have to cut open some of my drywall as I tried using the old cable as a fish, but it must be stapled to one of the studs. The G4 Doorbell Pro that I bought was the white one, but it also does come in black and it comes with the PoE chime, so we'll have to get that installed somewhere central in my home as well and run an Ethernet cable to it. If you'd like to support my channel, the best way to do so is to use my Ubiquiti affiliate links that I have down in the description below. If you'd like to hire me for network consulting, visit my website at mactelecomnetworks.com. And if you'd like to join our Discord, I do have a link in the description below as well. Now let's go over to the side table, see what comes in the box with the G4 Doorbell Pro PoE Kit. And here is the box for the Doorbell Pro PoE Kit, and this is for the white version. And if you know Ubiquiti packaging, it is always done very well. So let's get this box opened up. Now right on the top we could see the doorbell and it has this plastic film protecting it, and we also have the PoE chime, which is very nice, and I'm hoping that it is a bit louder than the old one that you just plug into the wall. On the very top we have our camera, and this is a 2 megapixel 30 frames per second. Below that we have our infrared sensors, and then we have our doorbell push button, which is a little bit different than the camera that I used to have. We have our traditional LCM, and then we have our speaker, and it does look like they still have the fingerprint scanner, and I hope that is going to be used in the future. Now on the back of the doorbell we have a reset button, and then we have a grommet. So I'm going to pull the grommet out, and that is just covering our Ethernet adapter. So I'm going to end up putting our cable through the grommet, and then we'll push this in. And on the very bottom we have our package detection camera, and this is also 2 megapixel but only does 2 frames per second. And underneath the doorbell we just have some screws and anchors. Now let's take a look at the chime. So I'm going to pull the chime out, and it feels like this very top is made out of some sort of felt, and it looks a little bit bigger than the old chime that you would just plug into your electrical outlet. On the back of the chime we have a reset button, and then we have our Ethernet port. Now this is all of our mounting materials for our chime, so I'm going to pull this out, and this will be going into our wall. So we're going to have to drill out a pretty big hole into our drywall. I'll most likely be drilling this in by our stairs or in our laundry room, as it has easy access as where I could cable it, but this hole does seem like it's going to be rather big. Now this is the back plate for our doorbell. This is the one that I'm going to end up putting on because it's going into brick, and this metal piece will go inside of it. There is an angled bracket you could use if you need to. But that is it that comes into the kit. So now what I got to do, I got to cut open my drywall and get running an Ethernet cable. The first step to getting the cabling to my doorbell is to cut a small hole in my drywall. I need to make sure this hole is big enough that I can put my hand through so I can grab the fish stick when it's coming up with the cabling. My basement is not finished, which makes it easier, and there is already a hole going up through the floor joist. From the basement, I pushed the fish stick or the fish rod up through the wall, and I was able to grab it through the hole. Next, I attached 2 Cat6 cables to the fish rod and started pulling the cabling down. I decided that I'm going to put the chime just above the door instead of making a separate hole by my hallway. I cut the one cable short as we don't need that much slack going to the doorbell, and then I left another one longer that will go to my chime. The hole to my existing doorbell was pretty big, so it made it easy to fish the cable outside. Now that I'm using the big back box, we need to pull these stickers off and then put the metal bracket on top of it before we screw it into our wall. Now the next important step is to put the grommet on before we terminate our cable. We'll just slide it onto the cable, and then we'll get our RJ45 end put on. To install the door chime, we're going to be using a 3 1/4 inch hole saw. Now with the hole made, we need to get the Cat6 cable up to the door chime, and I'm just using one of the fish rods to fish it down to where the doorbell was going. Now we place the door chime bracket inside of the wall, and then we screw the toggle bolts to make sure that it's tight to our wall and flush. Now I have have the doorbell installed for the last couple of days, let's take a look at the image and talk about a few things. So we could see here that we have the G4 Doorbell Pro PoE and it has an excellent connection, and the last motion was 2 minutes ago. If we click on the doorbell, we could look at the overview, the recording mode, and the settings. Under the overview, it's going to tell us our status, our connection, the model, the firmware, the last motion, the MAC address, the IP address, the frames per second, which it's doing 30 frames per second, the bit rate, and then the uptime, as well as the last ring, which was yesterday. If we look at recording mode, I'm currently using global recording, but if we uncheck that, we could set specific settings. The settings that are available to us is when to record, and I always have my cameras on 24/7, but you could do a custom schedule, you could do it never, and you could choose when you want to record. So do you want it on motion only, or do you want it continuous, or possibly on smart detections? If we scroll down, we could see the create AI events, and this is for our smart person, vehicle, animal detection, and package. The animal detection is still in release candidate, but it should be in the general release in a few days. We also have our audio detection, which would be for smoke or CO, and we could edit these audio detections if we want to turn them on or off. Scrolling down, we have our recording quality. So if we want to scale back on the frames per second and the image quality to save some hard drive space, we could do that. And then we have some overlay information. I'm going to turn the logo off and then apply the changes. Now under the settings, we could do a couple things. We could change the name of the camera and we could adjust the camera picture. I'm going to leave it at default as I think it looks pretty good. We could also change the microphone sensitivity, how loud it is, and then we could disable it. If we do disable the microphone, you have to do a factory reset to get it back. And then we have our night vision, which I just have on auto. On my street, it's pretty bright and it picks up around 10 p.m. A few other things that we could do, we could share the live stream. We have notification settings, which is just using global, and then we have our doorbell message. So the one thing that is new is this new animation of the dog. The dog is the only thing that we could currently do, and I hope Ubiquiti allows us to do our own custom animations in the future. Under advanced, that's just our RTSP streams, and then manage is like any other Ubiquiti device. We could restart or remove it from the controller. Now looking at the image quality, this was me coming back from the gym early this morning, and you could tell that it's still night out, and let's press play on the image. And you could clearly see that that's me and the smart detection is picking up. I'm really happy with the image quality of this doorbell. Now, as for package detection, since I put in this doorbell, I've only had one package delivered and you could see that it caught that. If we take a look at the clip, we could see that FedEx came up and they dropped a package off on the left side of the doorbell. We also have our ring notifications, which seem to be pretty responsive. When somebody hits the doorbell, I hear the chime go off maybe a millisecond later and I'm able to answer my door. Well, I'm very happy with this doorbell and how the installation went. It is a little bit trickier if you have a finished house and you need to run Ethernet cabling to the doorbell and to the door chime. If you are building a new build, it's going to be fairly easy to get that Ethernet cable there, and they do have a back box that would fit onto a single gang box. Now, some things I would like to see is the NFC reader being enabled in this doorbell and some type of lock. It was teased in one of their earlier videos about the original Doorbell Pro, and I think this would bring great integration into the Unifi Protect ecosystem. Also, I've already talked about it, having different animations for our doorbell would be great, and also having different chime sounds. Right now, we're just limited to the one chime sound, and it would be nice to be able to customize that. Let me know your thoughts on the Doorbell Pro PoE down in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right, thanks.